Oh, with the idea that we still have Jevica and yourselves within the ghostly minstrel, you're still in that kind of central point of Tullus in the Delver's Square. Did anyone think up of any other questions that you wanted to speak with Jevica about, basically prior to this meeting kind of coming to an end?
I did not think of any other questions from Dalton.
And nothing else from Gale either.
Yeah, I thought we got it pretty good last time. You definitely answered a lot of questions for us.
Oh, well, friends, if it seems we're at the end of our business at present, barring you all finding yourselves with access to a wish, I might point you towards where we understand the key to this doorway into the Bane Morans lies. I believe it would be safe to inform you, allow you access to such a thing, and ask that you return it to us once you are through. The House of Vladim, you familiar at all? And let me just see, like, anybody who cares to history check on House Vladim, anybody who's actually read the player introductory like manual, those like 30 pages, you can have advantage.
Oh, yeah, I did read that. Oh, okay. With advantage turns into a 22.
Mine was super weak. I got a 10 total.
Yeah, Gale got a 15.
Do you remember anything about House Vladim, Justin?
Off the top of my head, no. Yeah, it's been a bit since I actually read it. I think they're like one of the oldest houses, and I think they have they're considered like they have a connection, like a more personal connection to some of this evil than some of the other houses do. But I could be thinking of a different house.
No, no, you're not far off. House Vladim is indeed perhaps one of the oldest houses that remains noble. Most certainly do connect them with some of the greatest evils that has happened to our city. But as well, they are quite intrinsically, still not right. They are quite intricately connected to nearly all of the crime of this city. For most intents and purposes, House of Vladim is the vestige of evil within this city. A smaller family, no doubt. Their aging father is perhaps the end of the line in a family built on patriarchy. It seems the boys of this generation are weak and feeble, but their daughters are nothing to shirk at, even if they lack what the family would ask for them to have to inherit the power properly. I think it would be a great disservice to think that such things are going to prevent these girls from taking the power that is rightfully theirs. It's not too much to say that where the family status, the power, personality lies. The oldest daughter is most certainly the most dangerous person perhaps remaining within this city once her father passes away. And if you give me one moment, I'm actually gonna find her name because or you're definitely gonna get that name as somebody to be afraid of. And I just so happen to not be finding it in my notes.
So was the Balcazars, was that one of the houses, or was that like a noble house, like a different thing?
The Balcazar crime family is definitely one of the other families of the nobles houses.
Okay, but they're like the same classification. Are some of them good and some are evil, or is it just like a gray scale, like whatever?
Like of the houses? Or do you mean specifically like Balcazar?
Oh no, like the houses.
Oh, there's definitely good houses. You
Okay,
guys
okay, I
just
got
are hearing about evil houses because you're fighting against evil.
you. Yeah, that's what I was kind of getting at. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, again, like if you ever want to like read that primer, like it's only a few pages realistically, and you could learn a lot about some of that background.
Yeah, where's
But
that at? I
specific,
actually didn't.
I think it's just linked probably under the homebrew and resources in Discord there.
I think it's in pinned messages as well.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
I'll
that might be where it is then, is the pinned messages. Yeah, it's that top one. Yeah, I just don't have her name right off the bat. Let me at least drop this picture that I do have right here. And again, I feel like Wizards is kind of trying to whitewash the idea that like tieflings are evil. They're trying to like get rid of that connotations. Please recognize that this is a 4th edition like creation. This world was designed for like 4th edition, and this is like the 5th edition setting that we're playing it in. So when you see a picture of a tiefling inside of this family, that is usually enough to be like, these people are fucking demons, they're evil. It might be Justin, it might be Nirvana. Straight up, what it's coming down to is I'm just not like on the right page, son of a bitch, and then I accidentally just closed it. I think like as far as Jevica Nor giving you guys information about the Vladams, I think it's perfectly acceptable that Jevica can name the like family Vladam. Me personally, I thought I created the Vladam family ages ago, so it didn't even cross my mind to double check and make sure that I was ready to name them. Like from my note.
Yeah, no worries.
But the basic idea that I'm getting at here is Jevica is basically telling you when and like if you decide that entering into the Bane Warrens is your next course of action, breaking into the Vladam house and getting into their vault is a way in. It doesn't mean that you guys can't randomly find something with the ability to make a wish. It just means that this high level wizard is basically saying, look, before we give you access to a wish, we'd rather point you towards the actual item that can get you into and past that seal. So that's kind of the main idea of what Jevica is presenting you with, is a little bit of like a reference to the Vladams, effectively their kind of danger as one of the oldest families in the city, one of the families who are most tied not simply just to crime, but also to like actual unequivocal evil. And then specifically saying, don't think that the weakness that this family is going through is simply weakness. The daughters may not get credit for how evil they are, and for how powerful they are, but the daughters are where the power of this family currently lies. But yeah, that is effectively kind of the point where Jevica, after enjoyed some libations, is going to leave you all at the Ghostly Minstrel and effectively return on their way back to the inverted pyramid. Any sort of thoughts or questions before Jevica leaves you?
No, not at the moment. For me, at least.
And sorry, I might have just missed it, but did Jevica actually like say what item, if we break into the vault, like what we'd actually be looking for, like what can get, is is it an actual key, or do they know, or does she
Yes,
know
it
that?
is the actual key.
Okay, I just missed that then.
And I'd say it's more in a reference to like these people like have this item, probably recognizing a certain amount of power to it, but they do not know what it is. This is like just a trophy sort of thing that they have, kind of situation.
Gotcha.
So if you all are all set, you could enjoy the rest of your time in the Ghostly Minstrel before heading off to sleep. Any thoughts on? Are you just kind of heading back to the Goblin House?
I think that's a plan, and I think like on the whole, like way back, like as we're walking, Jinx is like reiterating like how great a plan it would have been to like set up the fortress outside the manor. Definitely intoxicating.
I think it would have been a fine plan if we knew when it was coming, but may have been, who knows how long we would have had to camp out to keep casting it.
Sure, sure. I mean that's the idea of the stakeout, though. You don't know when they're coming, and just waiting on them.
I mean, is there even a need for a stakeout? Weren't the Knights of the Pale supposed to message us when it happens?
Those Knights of the Pale, they're all talk anyway. We haven't even seen them in action yet. That's another reason we should be out there, just in case it does pop up. Even if we're not going to do nothing, we get front row seats. I mean, I think it's still a great idea. I might still go on my own. Which way is it?
Yeah, we'll like point in the way of like the Goblin House. No, it's probably that way.
All right, well, I'll go first. I'm leading the way. We're going.
So you all continue back to the Goblin Hide, the city, kind of like still in this moment before the storm. Sort of everything's calm and quiet. There's a lot less people kind of actively around the city at night at these points. There's a lot less kind of light that shines about the city as they kind of like take extra precautions to kind of keep things dark and sort of hide the city within plain sight kind of situation. But you otherwise head back to the Goblin Hide. And if you sit yourselves down to rest, you guys don't necessarily need to keep any sort of a watch. But do you keep any sort of a watch simply for the sending stones purposes in case they contact you? Do you think you've been doing something along those lines? Or are you just sort of hoping that what is it, Jinx sort of wakes up when and if the message comes.
I'm thinking I'm probably like holding the sending stone, but like also just going to sleep like with it in my hand.
And I think at least for tonight, Dalton is he's pretty exhausted, so he's just thinking he just wants to get to sleep and is uh, not really up for staying up, keeping a watch.
Yeah, I don't think Gale would stay up either. He would just like go to sleep.
Jinx would be like, "Oh no, don't worry, I got this. I'll stay up. I'm not even tired. I don't even need to rest. I'll watch it. Don't you worry." And like 20 minutes later, he's like passed out, unconscious.
So roll a perception disadvantage for me, Jinx.
It's a 19 with disadvantage.
So while you are sleeping, you're kind of woken by like the sort of like heating of this stone in your hand, this like stone marker for the symbol of the Knights of the Pale. And you kind of like feel as it sort of like heats up, and then you hear, "Oh God! Ah, the ground! It's collapsed beneath us! 5 of our brothers have fallen! We need you!"
So what do I like to talk back into it? How does that work?
It's essentially once you get the message, the next like 25 words that you speak and go back through.
Okay, so I'm not gonna say anything at first, and then I'm gonna rush over to I think I guess Dalton first and try to wake him up, and then Gale as well without like saying anything.
I think Dalton would be quite groggy as he wakes up, and he's like, what is it?"
So I'll like just hold up the stone and then point at it, and then I'll like wave him towards me, and I'm gonna run out and go do the same thing for Gale.
Gotcha. So shaking them awake shouldn't be any sort of difficulty here. There's no like magical sleep or anything causing them to be asleep. All of you are in kind of like that worst feeling of being asleep, as this effectively is kind of like happened in about an hour or two of you kind of turning in for the night.
All right, so I'm gonna say back into the stone. We're here now. We're ready. You need our assistance, or have you dispatched of it already? The Hydra, is it dead? And then after that, I'll start like explaining to them. I got a distress call from the stone. It sounded like they were in trouble, middle of a fight. They were calling for help.
Then we should probably go, right? I mean, if they're calling for help.
They said a bunch of their brothers had fallen, that they were dead. I mean, it sounded like they need us bad.
So Dalton is kind of he's like leaning against the wall, kind of still sagging. He's still, not only, he's groggy, but he can still clearly tell that he's still suffering the effects of whatever he was suffering before he went to sleep, and he'll kind of look towards Jinx and Gale. Is there any way they could hold it at bay a few hours?
I don't know. They haven't even responded yet, so it might already be dead.
You've been attuned to the stone for long enough to recognize, like, effectively, until the next dawn, that is just a stone in your hand at this point.
Oh, okay. It was like a one-time. I got you.
Oh, then I think we need to get going if they're not gonna call back. So
I have to be honest, I don't know if I'm up for it.
I mean, yes, stay safe, stay far away from it, and you had that wand of fireball, that's right? Or was it a wand? Just chuck it at him and keep away.
Suppose I could try. The knights are fighting it. It may be difficult to get it. I want to avoid any collateral damage, as much as possible.
I mean, there's only really two ways this thing plays out. They're either going to kill it without our help, or they're probably already dead. And by the time we get there, we might as well be fresh. That's how I see it anyway. I'm with you guys, whatever way. And I mean, it makes sense. We should go fight it for sure. But, I mean, Dalton don't look good.
So I may tell stories about heroic sacrifices, but I can avoid becoming the subject myself. It does the city knights no good if we rush over there only to be laid low. Have a better chance if we can fight it fresh, I think.
That might be, but I don't think the Knights of the Pale will react all too favorably to that. Just to throw that out there.
They seemed rather condescending of our abilities. Seemed fairly confident they could handle it themselves.
I mean, if that thing gets through them and starts to rampage the city, talking about dozens, maybe hundreds of people killed, we'd be responsible for it, one way or the other.
And if we go to fight it now and fall, who's left then to stop it? If we go now, we could end up causing more indirectly, even more misery than waiting to fight it when we're at our at fuller strength.
But whatever we do, we got to do it together, one way or the other. There's three of us. Have to all agree. It's the only way.
And I say we go and help them. We did say we would, and that we should honor that word.
And we will, just not quite yet. I vote we go in the morning. And then he'll kind of look towards Jinx, and suppose you'll be the tiebreaker then. But whatever you choose, you say we go, I'll go with you.
And that's not really fair, Dalton, because if something happened to you, I feel responsible, and so your father wouldn't be too happy with it. But, well, don't leave it to me. I'm telling you right now. We should all agree one way or the other, because I'll just flip a coin on it. I'll start pulling out a gold coin.
I mean, Gail, you saw. I mean, oh wait, no, Gail wasn't there when we fought it the first time, right? That was still Malchin.
Yeah, so Gale hasn't seen it yet. Just heard about it.
Okay, yeah. So Dalton is going to try to do his best to kind of, maybe exaggerating a little bit of, but doesn't really have to exaggerate that much of like, this thing, would have wiped the floor with us when we first fought it if we had stuck around. And I don't think you know just quite what you're jumping to get involved with here, Gale.
Got real crazy real quick down there. We had to turn tail and run. We were probably about as rested as we are now, so
I mean, last time you didn't have a wizard with you, and I don't think had your wand of fireballs either. It's an effective equalizer.
Jinx is queuing up the coin on his thumb.
I don't think we'll be able to convince each other. I suppose we should come to a decision. Well, Jinx, I suppose it's only apropos. You leave it to the coin, leave it to fate. And I kind of give like a nut.
We can't split the party though. So if that's what we're gonna do, if we're gonna flip on the fate of our own lives and probably the whole city, we have to agree no matter what comes up that we all three honor it together.
You guys all hear the condemning voice of Kelrescent in your ears. You're simply just creatures of chaos.
And then if so Dalton, he'll reiterate that if the result is they go, he will not he won't stay back. He wouldn't split the party. But he might try and, well, Jinx would probably notice this if he tried, but like assuming he's like, okay, heads, it'll be, we go, tails, we stay, whatever the case may be. Dalton's thinking he might not actually do it, but he's thinking in his head like I could try to essentially maybe sneak a prestidigitation in to make the coin appear like what I want it to. Oh, it's got a verbal component, so that's not going to work. And Jinx would know exactly what he's doing, obviously.
Yeah, you're also just in poor company all around with that because Gale as well would recognize that pretty easily.
Oh yeah, wizard forgot. Yep.
So is that really what you guys want to do? You want to flip a coin on whether or not we go?
I mean, selfishly as a player, I think Dalton has a better chance of surviving if we rest, but in character, right? So we both, Gale's made his case, Dalton's made his case. Neither of us has convinced the other, so don't really see an alternative option to, well, we, you know, and if Jinx doesn't want to, essentially Jinx is his decision is going to rest on a coin flip, and so the whole thing is going to rest on a coin flip. But again, like, if Gale can't convince Dalton and Dalton can't convince Gale, that's kind of what we're left with as a determiner.
And what about you, Gail?
Yeah, I mean, I've said what I want to say. I feel like we should help. Yeah, flip your coin.
Don't feel right. Three intelligent people letting it all ride on a coin flip. And then Jinx will flip the coin.
So what is it? Heads we go, tails we stay. Does it say?
Yeah, but like for purposes, like just even odd, is that what you want me to do?
Yeah, basically, like, even is, it's like say even we go, tails we stay, or vice versa. Yeah.
All right, so because Dalton wants to stay, I will say that 20, so evens, will be stay, and odds will be go. So 2. So there it is. Let fate decide. Now fate's right here. We're arrested. We've all agreed. Probably not going to get much sleep, but we'll get some rest.
We'll see Dalton give like an audible sigh of relief as he kind of can't, sees the coin toss result. But I promise we'll go as soon as we're rested.
If there's even to go to when we're arrested.
I don't suppose y'all heard a voice in your head. Was that just me?
Pang of conscience, perhaps. That's what they sounded like. A certain paladin we've recently come to know.
I mean, I've got nothing to worry about. He already hates me. It's the two of you that got something to lose.
I'm pretty sure he hates me, yes, because I work for the inverted pyramid, if nothing else. But yeah, no.
And I think
Oh.
I think he judges me by the company I keep, so I'm in no better boat.
So we've got nowhere but up to go on his list of favorite people I'm starting to think that paladins just don't really like anything in general. They just seem really bad. Everything and everyone.
Well, I'm going to try to get back to sleep and wake me first thing in the morning. Hopefully, I'll be feeling a bit more hale, a bit more like myself.
Yeah, no worries, Dalton. Look terrible. You don't got to explain to us. We know you're feeling it. I'm not going to be able to sleep, though. Probably just going to hang out for a little while.
Is anyone else attempting not to sleep? Is anyone else attempting to turn directly into sleep?
Gale will not go to sleep immediately. He will do a short rest to use his arcane recovery to get back a 3rd level spell slot first.
Dalton is
So,
very anxious.
on some level, if you do that, Gale, I'm going to penalize you and you're going to cause an extra hours of delay before you could have a long rest when the others would be ready.
Yeah. Still thinking. Do I want to do that? Yeah, I feel like he would, even if like, I think he would even take that, like not fully resting for that 8 hours, just like take a 7-hour rest. But he's gonna use that to use the sending spell to the inverted pyramid.
What are you sending? What are your 25 words?
Oh, as of right now, I'm not sure who needs to hear this, but there's. Let's just gonna count this. Not sure who needs to hear. Oh fuck. Oh fuck! I have to count my words. Oh, this is bad. Yeah, he's just gonna say. Let's see. Not sure who needs to hear this, but there's Hydra on the loose in Old Town. Knights of Pale already there, taking heavy losses, need help.
All right, so you feel the magic dissipate right around saying need. But you feel solid sense of you got a pretty solid message through.
Yeah, then he will go back to rest.
Sorry, Gail. I would have had us go too, but I've known Dalton for a long time, and he's not necessarily one to run to a fight, but not one to run away from one either. I think he was really worried. Sometimes when you get a bad feeling, it's for a reason. So I'm not mad how things turned out.
While he's speaking, Gail, like during that whole thing that he says, that big whole heartfelt thing, you're going to hear, "Hi, this is Quincy from the Inverted Pyramid Help Desk. I'm glad you reached out for us, and we can most certainly help the Knights of the Pale with your Hydra issue. We'll be directing a few wizards to the scene. Is there anything else that you need? You can respond to this message if you do." And right around when it goes silent, Jinx goes silent.
Yeah, I don't think that Gale ever heard most of or anything of what Jinx said, so he's just gonna respond to the message. And no, no need for anything. Would want to be updated in if the situation get worse, but otherwise, no need for anything else.
All right. Well, I mean, I'll let you know. I mean, Oz work as good as mine, so I'd imagine if tomorrow he's not looking better, then you know, I guess I'll update you. I'll pull you aside or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll just look at you. Huh? What? What are you talking about? I, I'm sure. Can update
Update
me if
you
you want.
on the situation with Dalton if his health is not getting better. What do you mean? Update you on the situation? Isn't that what you're talking about?
Oh no, I was sorry. I wasn't listening to you before. I got a message from the inverted pyramid.
Oh, that makes more sense. I thought your eyes would like roll back in your head or something if you're doing that, so other people know. You know what I mean? That you're on a call.
All right, next time I'm on a call, I'll roll up the back my eyes into the back of my head, so you know.
Well, I mean, you can do whatever you want. I'm just saying some sort of like visual signal so people know. Did you hear what I was saying? That whole heartfelt thing and about us being brothers and considering you one of my closest friends and how much everything we've been through means?
Oh, no. I mean, I'm sure it was very heartfelt of you. I mean, to be honest, I don't know too much about you. You're a nice acquaintance, friend.
I'm just messing with you, Gail. I wasn't even talking about that. I was just rambling about some girl at the bar.
All right, then. We should probably get some rest.
Sure, sure. We should probably get some rest. Got a big day tomorrow, I guess.
Dalton, will you roll a Constitution check for me?
Sure. Check or save.
Realistically, just roll a con. Non-save. There's not traditionally a Constitution check.
Okay, that's a 3.
Gotcha. So you have an uneasy sleep at first, and you don't really find yourself feeling terribly rested, as you are going to kind of feel like, I don't know, like I feel like as a kid there were always those times where you're like trying to tell yourself like you've got to go to sleep, you've got to go to sleep, and you're just like the harder you try to go to sleep, the easier it is to like just stay up all night long. And you just kind of like suffer through this, like telling yourself you need to sleep, you've got to fight the Hydra. And by the time you kind of like almost give up on it. You're like midway through a dream, and there is going to be eight-headed Hydra that is speaking toward to you, and you're just kind of like sat down at this little tavern bar. There's a 9-tubed hookah kind of sitting in front of you. 8 of these tubes are like drawn towards this 8-headed Hydra who's made of metal, but the size of a normal human, just sitting in the opposite chair to you. And you're sitting there smoking on one of the other tubes as if the two of you were just relaxing inside of Danbury's in this, like, it's relatively recognizable as Danbury's, essentially. But it's basically like supremely filled with smoke where you can really only see just sort of the Hydra in front of you, the table that you're kind of sitting at, like the tabletop, and then the actual hookah like sitting on top of it. But like when you look around, the smoke clears enough to kind of get a sense of a feeling of like if you look towards the bar to see if you can recognize the bartender, it's almost like the smoke kind of clears before you and you see the bartender. But realistically, like just there's this Hydra in front of you, smoking on these different hookahs. And as you start to hear it kind of speaking to you, you'll kind of notice that like each head is saying one word as like the words like flow across the heads. It's almost like it's doing like a wave as like it pulls the hookah tube out of its mouth. Smoke kind of comes from its mouth as it says this one word, and then it goes back to hitting the hookah again. But you basically hear, "Welcome to the Dreaming Apothecary. It's my pleasure to serve you this day. I understand you have 2,000 crowns on retainer. Do you have particular magics in mind? What were you thinking of having the apothecary create for you?"
So Dalton, I think, so before kind of this, this dream that turned into the actual kind of meeting with the dreaming apothecary, some of his other kind of bad dreams that he's been having have been like flashbacks to kind of their time just recently in the Bane Warrens, like, not only getting kind of the life sucked out of him, but then also, um, towards the end where like the Lamias were, were escaping, and they essentially, and they use that kind of like, kind of created duplicate mirror images of themselves to kind of mask their escape. And so maybe kind of subconsciously, Dalton has been is thinking like, something like that would be useful. And then now, as he comes into the into this meeting with the dreaming apothecary, he'll, after kind of, takes him a bit to kind of like acclimate himself to this odd situation. But he will basically kind of like describe kind of the effects that he saw those creatures doing, and then some sort of magic that would, uh, something similar along similar lines, make me a bit harder to hit, a bit, um, because I don't think he, well, so he wouldn't know like, the name of the magic item, but I was thinking that's kind of like the effect is similar, like obviously a much scaled down version of like the mirror image, um, for like the armors we were talking about. So that's kind of what Dalton was
Gotcha.
trying to get at.
So yeah, maybe as you're kind of like having the conversation, and you're starting to like focus on like that Lamia creating those mirror images, you actually see sort of the Hydra in front of you almost like start to look like this Lamia, and it starts to, kind of like continuing on in a different way, but sort of with the same, like where now there's like four Lamia in front of you, and like these four tubes of the hookah are going to their mouths, and they're speaking, one after another in the same way as like the Hydra was, but now it's like this like four individuals kind of like sitting around the table with you, and you just hear, "So you would like increased mobility around your foes, that they might fail to find your flesh?"
Yes, precisely.
And were this to run beyond your stipend, are you willing to pick up any further charges? Or would you like for it to be constrained at no fees beyond what has been paid?
I have some additional coin, stashed away. I could go modestly beyond the retainer, but probably no more than. Sorry, just actually checking how much gold I do actually have. He's going to say he could go up to 500 crowns over. That would be kind of the limit he would go to.
Oh, wonderful. Mm. Is there any desire for a more quick production at a higher cost? Or is the increased cost only viable for increased magical satisfaction?
So Dalton is now he's kind of like he's looking at the Hydra, and obviously that's reminding him of the the actual mechanical Hydra that he's probably even now rampaging through the city, and he's gonna kind of he'll take like a try to take a kind of a hit from the hookah and then kind of blowing out, and he'll be like, time is of the essence here.
What's Dalton's favorite thing to eat? Like savory or sweet, whatever it is, it could be like the flavor of chocolate. It could be like a 7-course meal. But like when you inhale from that hookah, it is purely just your favorite meal, that like your favorite thing to eat, whether it's like Thanksgiving Day feast, or a blueberry pie. Like when you like inhale, it's just that like memory of like, oh my gosh.
Gotcha. Yeah. So maybe like the cookies is mother used to bake like that he remembers from being a kid, and like it's like exactly that. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe not only is it like those cookies, but maybe it's like a particular day where like she had some like candied like walnuts inside of them, like cookies, but they were like extra special cookies that day.
Yeah, like that she made for a festival. She like saved up to buy some like more expensive ingredients. Yeah.
So essentially this question is like, if we can make the product for less than like the 2500, would you pay more to have it quicker? Or should we still produce it at whatever time it takes, but to keep it at whatever price the magic requires?
Yes. So I'm just double checking again how much I have. He'll say like if another if the we use the 2500 for the actual magic, if another 250 could expedite the manufacturing process at all, I could make that work. But that's kind of his hard limit. He couldn't afford anything more than that.
Excellent. Will you please roll me a D100? Twice I have rolled a 55 on my D100.
I don't know if that's good or bad. 93. I feel like high is bad here.
Yeah, so from there your dream kind of like dissipates like into the mist. Maybe a little bit more of like kind of the flavor of those cookies kind of like just kind of like sits with you. You're far more calmed like into the night's rest from that point. Like if you were still having uneasy sleep prior, it got much better afterwards. There's a certain level of, at least on some sense, the dreaming apothecary has no clue that your sleep is troubled. Part of what it does is kind of like coming into your sleep and sort of taking control of it to manipulate such things. But effectively, if I got that correctly, you are willing to spend potentially up to 7,500 extra, like
Uh, s-
750 rather.
yeah, 750. Yeah, with 250 of that for time, and up to, if I'm understanding and then 500 additional, the 500 up for like more potent effects.
Yeah. So Jinx and uh Gale. Uh Gale, are you trying to avoid sleep entirely this evening, or are you comfortable sleeping once you've contacted the inverted pyramid? And then Jinx, are you kind of same thing? Are you avoiding sleep, or are you kind of giving into it at some point?
Yeah, Gale was going to bed after like contacting the inverted pyramid and that little talk with Jinx.
Gotcha. And how about Jinx? Where are you at, like perspective wise, on sleep?
Oh, I think after we like caught up or whatever, like I would have been just like restless and gone to bed eventually. Maybe not the best night of my life sleep, but sleep nonetheless.
Gotcha. Let me have each of you roll a Constitution check.
That is a 9 for Gale.
And 11.
Alrighty, Gail. So you are going to kind of toss and turn for a few moments before kind of feeling like sleep comes to you relatively quick. It doesn't seem like a struggle for you to turn in, but you definitely do kind of toss around a little bit to try to get yourself to sleep. But it's definitely one of those things where you like feel it, and then all of a sudden you just like kind of notice that you are like sort of in a dream state, just kind of finding yourself in sort of like a smoky open area. And it's just, again, one of those things where you immediately kind of notice, like, if you just think to yourself, like, turn this way, all of a sudden your focus kind of like turns and you feel like a sensation of kind of like the smoke dissipating in that direction. And then after a few moments, you just see this like old, wizened kind of a man who's just like crouched over a desk, and he's kind of like immediately sort of looks up to you and, oh, well, welcome, good Gale. I understand you're in need of a few special items. And you see is like he's like writing on this desk. Like the desk kind of starts to like dissipate into smoke, and you see is like the book kind of like continues to sort of levitate in front of him, and you have this like weird kind of affinity for, like, this feels like one of your teachers or like a wizard from the inverted pyramid, but you never actually see any sort of like flesh from this person. Their long flowing robes kind of cover every like inch of their body. The like cloak over their head kind of drapes them in shadow, and like you can kind of see as smoke even kind of billows from within the cloak. Their hands are covered by like silken gloves. And it's just one of those things where you just kind of see this person looks like a old sort of scribe of sorts. And they're just kind of like continuing on like with this book, and you like notice yourself now like walking in an open field, the book still kind of like floating in front of this wizard as he's like taking notes with you, and you're going to notice kind of like constant changes of scenery. Like when your attention goes to the wizard, everything around you is going to change by the next time you kind of like broaden your sense of like where you are. So this is definitely one of those things, like if you like randomly think of, say, really nice smelling cookies, you're going to turn around and find yourself in a bakery. Your attention goes back to this wizard and you think like the smell of a flower kind of crosses your nose, and your attention like broadens and you're in like a field of like daisies. And it's just that kind of level of a dream where if you're focused on the wizard, you see this person like taking notes about your conversation. But as you look to other things, you're constantly getting sensations that like draw your attention away from him. And you're just in these like magnificent otherworldly places. But yeah, he's gonna kind of continue with a similar line of questioning where it's just yeah, I am to understand you have a stipend of 2,000 gold crowns. The dreaming apothecary would be curious, what in particular sorts of magic you would desire for such a thing?
I'll hide the situation I feel I found myself in. I think I would be happy to have another spell focus to help me more reliably hit what I'm trying to hit. New wand. Basically, I'm asking for a wand of the war mage, but yeah.
Excellent. And with this ability to affect your enemies, are you most concerned purely with the act of hitting them? If it were viable, if it were within your price range, would you pay more to be more effective all around against your enemies?
Oh, certainly. If it's within my price range, I would be more than happy to be more effective all around.
And what would your price range be, Sir Gale?
And there's the 2,000 crowns stipend, and I think I can add another 250 crowns myself, but that's probably it.
Is there any sense that you would pay for a quicker delivery? Were we able to accomplish the magics that you desired at a lesser or non-extreme to your boundaries?
Yes, I think I would prefer having it quicker. That's an option.
Excellent. Well, thank you, and return to your sleep. And you'll kind of have like a similar sensation where, from like a certain point, you just find yourself kind of returning into normal dream state. Again, a little bit more calm and a little bit more sort of relaxing than it would have been prior. Let me have you roll a D100, please.
That is a 100.
And then Jinx. Jinx, you are going to find yourself kind of turning into bed, There is sort of one of the old kind of like teachers that you've dealt with in the Order of Dyra, who seems to be like sitting behind her like matron's desk in front of like this whole classroom of students. You see a bunch of the other orphans kind of like sitting in their chairs, smoke kind of like filling the room again in the same way where it's like you can kind of like turn and like look at another kid and they start to form enough that you like start to feel, oh, that this is this person. But when you really like change your focus, you just kind of have this sensation of being around other orphans and kids. But you kind of notice, like from up in the front of the room, every time your attention kind of like moves towards one of the other kids in this room, you just hear like the slap of this ruler against the desk, and the matron kind of like almost like balking at you, where you just hear, Jinx, pay attention. What item of magic do you desire? Jinx, pay attention. And you just kind of hear this like matron's voice kind of like scolding you as if you were a child still, under care of the Order of Dyra. As your nightmare sort of situation of this is essentially being kind of confronted by one of these matrons of the school, eventually getting to the point where when you do focus, you kind of find yourself like out of this like childhood setting and are simply kind of like smoking inside of Danbury's. And there's just this old man who's sitting across the chair from you, big bushy white beard, and he's just kind of like hitting from the hookah, and he finally gets your attention. It's like, Jinx, just stay focused on me. I come from the Dreaming Apothecary, and I can produce whatever magic items you would desire for your stipend of 2,000 gold. Have you considered what you would enjoy?
Well, I really put a lot of thought into this because I wasn't really sure, and it seemed so appealing at first. But when I thought about it, I really don't want for really anything. Got more gold and more richer friends than I could even imagine. So I thought maybe I should get something to help the children. And I don't know if this is possible, but I was thinking about a powerful wizard. There was some way we could take away his power, sort of shackles or something, long enough to keep him from escaping, to be able to use magic to get away. And we could capture him. But I didn't know if that was really realistic. So I thought about a couple other things too. And what you decide. Other one was I heard about like a stone that when you throw it to the ground, it turns into a creature. One that turned into a big gold dragon, but I don't know. Might be a little much. So maybe one that turned into a griffin so I could fly high. Never got in over our heads, but I'm kind of afraid of heights. So what about a dog? Just a good old dog. A friend that I don't have to feed or anything. And I could just bring him around when I'm lonely or when I need a hand with something, and then just tuck him away when I don't. You decide. I couldn't make up my mind.
The Dreaming Apothecary has strict orders against the use of magics that are to be used to bind other wizards. You must understand there is an ancient issue between ourselves and the Church of Lothian that will likely always prevent such things from being created once again. Were you most desirable of such a wondrous creature as a dog you could bring forth and use to your own desires, I believe that would be something entirely viable.
I mean, man's best friend, right?
Is there a particular sort of beast that you prefer, one dog to the other?
It's got to be pretty big and strong and, you know, a good boy. But other than that, not really.
A little Boston Terrier who stands 4 feet tall. A tiny little. Um, damn, why can't I think of the gigantic dogs?
Great Dane.
Yeah, Great Dane. A tiny little Great Dane who is 2 feet tall. You can have whatever you might desire.
I guess I'd have him be a sort of bulldog. So he's like mean, but also like real cuddly for the kids.
It doesn't actually have to breathe. Would you like to have all of the breathing problems included?
Oh yeah, it's got to have the snoring and the grunting and all that stuff. And I'd just rather if it was realistic, so he was perpetually out of breath all the time.
And if the magic requires further payment, would you be willing to pay more than your stipend allows? Would you pay more to have this item come to you quicker? Or are we able to finish it as the cost allows?
That's no rush or anything like that. I know the stipend was for like 2 grand, and that's definitely a lot. That's a real nice present. Um, but you ever do anything like gambling yourself at all? Like sort of like a double or nothing type deal?
The dreaming apothecary does not deal in gambling. I perhaps you misunderstand the function that we serve.
I definitely misunderstand it. But like, do you personally like to gamble? Like, you want to just do one for the hell of it? Like, you know what I mean? 100 gold, just like flip coin type thing or whatever.
Roll an insight check here, please.
It's a 3. Six total. Six total.
I believe then our services are complete, and perhaps we will meet soon.
All right, sounds good. I get it. You're at work. You're not allowed to gamble. So just say heads or tails as you sign off here.
So you just say like heads or tails as you sign off, and like immediately kind of it goes like smoky, and like for a moment you like see like this sister in front of the classroom again, like slam down her ruler. Jinx, no dice in the classroom. How many times have I told you? And like you just hear like the slap of this like ruler against the desk, and then like you hears it like changes to skin as she's like standing up and starting to like cross the room and just like slapping like against like one kid after another chasing you down, and you have nightmares of this like matron of the Order of Dyra chasing you around as a child.
Story of my life.
Can you roll a D100 for me, please?
45.
Alrighty then. So, you all are going to benefit from your long rest here. You all can upgrade and increase yourselves to the 7th level. Dalton, as with all sort of like undead necrotic, that necrotic damage is removed, your maximum health should return to normal here. And I say let's take a break, but in the long run, take 5 minutes, take a little bit more if you need to. If you have any questions about your level, please don't hesitate to ask. But otherwise, everybody get yourselves set for level 7 and waking up.
All right, sounds good. Be back in a few. I'm back.
Welcome back.
Yeah, I'm here too.
Yeah, so for my level up, Dalton is splashing into Rogue. So we'll finally have somebody in the core party who has some ability with thieves tools. Basically, he's been kind of like maybe secretly training with some of the I don't know if there's anyone at the Goblin Hide like who's a thief who maybe has been training him, or he's been kind of getting training on his own. But yeah, he's going into Rogue multi-class.
Right.
Zeneth is a rogue. I won't to say there's goblins who are definitely rogues. You guys have Seamus. But yeah, those are probably the more than likely people who are in the like Goblin Hide in this group.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I think Seamus makes sense. Dalton knows him a bit better than spent some more time with him. So
Oh, did you look at like what the bonuses are for level 7 if you go like all into Bard?
I did not look at level 7 specifically.
Yeah, I didn't look either. I was thinking about maybe doing like a couple levels in Fighter. I don't know. I didn't really think about it like enough, I guess.
7 is usually one of the worst levels. Specifically, though, 7 for spellcasters is, I believe, 4th level magic.
That it is.
So yeah, I think normally the benefit of actually taking 7 pure is that you would gain a 4th level spell.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely think about it this level. This one kind of snuck up on me, and then maybe I'll do like a couple in Fighter later on.
Yeah, it looks like 7th level Bard, you get one more spell, and yeah, you get a 4th level spell slot. The next like specific Bard ability, I don't think is until 10th level. That's when
Yeah,
you
I
get
didn't
more.
even think about multi-classing.
That's when you get more magical secrets at 10th level. You get another 2 spells.
Yeah, maybe because this is my first Bard, I'll play it just pure.
Yeah, and the Bard, the Keystone 20th level is
They do not reward you for going pure on a bard.
yeah, you just get essentially you get one
I
bardic
think you want
inspiration back.
17. Yeah, it's absolute trash. I think though you want like 17 with a bard is their true capstone. And I think that's purely for 9th level magic.
Yeah, that, and then your Song of Rest becomes a D12 instead of a D10.
Yeah, even that though, you could easily get rid of. Like, you could easily live without that.
Yeah,
But like
yeah.
having ninth level magic is definitely huge. But that's one
Yeah,
of
that's
those things. Like,
crazy. So you really like are almost like incentivized to at least like put like 2 or 3 levels eventually into something else.
100%. Yep. Druid, it's like, hey, you never die, and you can change your form infinitely, but you gotta go pure druid. Bard, it's like, hey, you got inspirations? You could get some extra inspiration. Eh? 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 Eh?
It's like at 20th level, you become slightly more inspiring than you already were.
Yeah, that's kind of funny.
I'm really glad you guys heard the word playtest before, and that's how you playtest, is you hear people say the word playtest.
Yeah, that's really weird because like some of the level 20 abilities are like absolutely insane. They're like you just become a god and you can do whatever you want. Once per day.
Yeah, the cleric's ability is like, hey, do you want to become the avatar of your god and be able to do godly things on the physical plane? Okay, you can do that now. You can do it.
Once per long rest. Oh, what are you doing for yours, Chris?
Oh, you can tell. He already told you because he knew.
Yeah, I'm just going another level in Wizard, getting that 4th level spell slot.
Nice.
So again, just a reminder, like in general, it's not as important like immediately, but like now that you guys are 7, start to kind of pay attention to what you'll do with level 8, to see like when you level up to level 8, what you'll kind of be doing on those levels. So if everybody is all set, when you wake up the next morning, feeling good and cleaned from your like encounter with the Wraith, Dalton no longer is sapped by his like very like will and like force of life, is not like pulled from his body. Dalton feels much better. All of you have this extra sense of rest. Even Jinx has this like odd sort of like comfort in being harassed by one of the like matrons of Dyra through his nightmarishly dreaming. But are you all still focused on going to the Pythonese house, assisting the Knights of the Pale, and the now inverted pyramid?
Yeah, I think that would like the moment Gale wake up, that would be his like make sure that was up and just we rested. Now it's time to go.
Yeah, and Dalton, part of him feels bad about delaying, so yeah, he wants to make up for it as much as he can. So he will, as he wakes up, realizes kind of like that effect seems to have faded from him. He's feeling much more like himself. He will be, yeah, he's ready to go with Gale.
I'm ready as I can be. Feel surprisingly rested. I felt like I was up tossing and turning all night. I don't suppose you gentlemen got a visit from somebody, a wizard?
Yeah, I was visited by the dreaming apothecary.
So that was real? We're really getting that stuff?
I mean, I would think so.
Listen, my dreams were troubled as well, but I did receive a visit of my own. Similarly, I'll be,
That's crazy. I wasn't even sure if that was real or not. I mean, when he talked about it and everything, it felt like a dream.
well, I suppose it was. They do call themselves the Dreaming Apothecary.
Jinx is gonna like look over at Gale and get like kind of close to him, and he's gonna say, "Don't you ever mess with my mind like that. We're friends. Don't get in my head, you wizards."
Gale will just like look at you a bit weirdly, but okay.
I'm just messing with you, Gale. But seriously, stay out of my head.
If you do the same,
Oh, I'll never magically manipulate you.
Jinx, I've seen what you do with suggestion spells and commands on regular people.
I said you. I said you. I'll never magically manipulate you. Either one of you two. Full stop.
Good enough for me.
All right, well,
Just
let's get going. We've been wasting all morning. You guys think these knights are dead, or do you think that guy was overreacting? We're gonna be in trouble.
Suppose there's only one way to find out. But we should probably head out. And before they do, Dalton's just going to kind of take Gale aside for a moment and just be, just remember, he said he wouldn't magically manipulate you.
Yes, he said that.
You hear Jinx yell from inside. He obviously can't hear your conversation. He just yells from inside. We bringing anybody? Any of the sidekicks coming, or just the three of us?
I think we're going to need all the help we can get.
Yeah, you're right about that. I'll go get Bob.
And if Terry is still available, Dalton is going to go get him.
Yeah, all right. Jinx is like just yelling all their names, like, get the hell out of here. You're supposed to be ready. Didn't you get the memo?
So when Gail goes and finds Bob, you see like Bob kind of like sleeping in her armor, fully like ready to go, and just kind of like opens one like lizardly eye and like stares at you from the side without like moving her face, like out of like silhouette to you. We all have discussed this tendency of you calling us sidekicks. If you require being so condescending, we're going to charge you more so that you know that our percentage is more than yours and are thus our sidekicks.
All right. Get why sidekick might seem condescending. How about partners instead then?
Partners, friends in arms, the people who keep you alive. All of these things are much better to sidekicks.
Co-venturers, then.
Co-ventures fucking works for me. I like that one. Jinx, who are you bringing?
Oh, I'll get Neffy.
Roll a d100.
Ooh,
69.
Neffy and I might not be happy. She's maybe she thinks she's the only partner.
When
Just special.
you go to find Nephrindel, she is neither at the house nor is she at her house.
God damn it, Neffy and the cult and the freaking. First one out here right now gets to come along. Equal share. Let's go.
So you want to roll a d20 against the NPCs?
Yeah, it's a 10. Damn, Nephrindale can't even count on her anymore, joining the cult, and now she's probably already dead, and we gotta fight a Hydra. And ugh.
Jinx, you don't think if she heard about it, you don't think she would have gone off to try to fight it herself, do you? No, she.
Oh no, Nephrindale fight a Hydra. I don't even think I've ever seen her. Well, she did fight the orc vampire lady.
When you say the first one out here gets to help you, you feel like a little bit of like a bump behind you as you kind of like turn around to look. You just see Tom the Lizard Man kind of standing there, and he's holding your coin purse in his hand. It's like, equal partners means I can split this with you.
From here on out, on this take, and I like pull it away.
But I'll send you the cut purse if you need it. Tom is one of the other rogues.
Oh wait, what was he? I thought he was like taking my coin purse.
No, that's why I said it, because he's a rogue, but he's specifically a cut purse.
Oh, I got you. Okay, and his name is Tom, and he's a lizardman.
Yeah, you guys don't actually really know the lizard men's names. They just went by Bill, Bob, and Tom. And Bob just happens to be the female of them. If you want it to be Bill, you could, and you could then pick what class he is. Bill is the only one you guys have not taken out so far.
Oh no, I'm good.
Oops, that was the. I didn't mean to send you the figure of wondrous power. There you go. There's the cut purse stat line. So crossing the city, let me have you all roll. Go for D6s.
See, I got a 5.
2.
5, 3, 2.
Yep, 3 for me.
Gotcha. So crossing the city, like you guys don't necessarily notice anything in particular that's like really out of the ordinary. There's definitely different points where you feel like you like hear a scream, but then there's silence, and you're just kind of like moving on your way more hurriedly than anything, trying to get to this actual instance of the Hydra sort of coming to. As you're moving through these districts, though, it kind of starts to become a little bit creepy how regularly, though, you do have these different like singular like screams that like draw your attention to silence. And it's definitely something that perhaps were you not going to like rescue the Knights of the Pale and the Inverted Pyramid, like to join them in battle to rescue the Knights of the Pale from this Hydra that you may be the cause of. Were it not so important, perhaps you would take the time to stop and investigate further. But you do like need to kind of push forward, and you keep kind of moving away from these instances. And again, it's not necessarily that like everybody hears these screams. It might just be one of the six of you kind of picks up something and says like, "Oh wait, what was?" Never mind. It must have been nothing. So there's definitely kind of like a weird level of crossing the city here. But you guys can eventually make your way to Old Town, where you kind of immediately inside of Old Town, realistically, probably entering into Midtown, you would see the first signs of kind of like a massive sort of like plume of dust, almost like sitting over the city. Like oddly, kind of like when you do like look up towards the tower or towards the spire, there's levels of the spire itself is like cloaked in dust. Are you guys seeing Old Town right now? Is my bot frozen on the bar?
I see Old Town.
Yeah, I can see Old
Yep.
Town as well.
Yeah, my bot I feel like is frozen on the ghostly tavern still. Windows like automatically updated when I turned off my computer, and I feel like they like sabotaged my shit. I fucking hate Windows sometimes. So yeah, when you're like moving up into Old Town, you can kind of see that there's almost like a dust kind of like coated a lot of the different parts of the city. The further northwestern that you move along Emperor's Road, the more you can feel this kind of dust beneath your feet and kind of have a sensation of like when you got this message there was some sort of destruction. Like Jinx got this message that like the paladins had fallen in, that they had been like consumed by the earth almost. And you're basically like walking through kind of like the dusty remains of what must have been that building collapsing, the like dust kind of expanding and covering a lot of Old Town, but you're walking through it now. You can kind of hear that extra like grit beneath your feet instead of like the smooth stone against the leather hide of your sandals. Like there's definitely like kind of a gritty feel to the walk, and much more once you've gotten into Old Town, and much more once you've crossed past the Delvers Guild, much more once you've crossed past what is that crossing street where there's like the bridge to the river gate. So you're feeling more and more of this grit. By the time you get to the temple, what is it? Not the Dark Reliquary of the Knights of the Pale. The Black Gate. The can't think of the right word to cue into it with my notes. But once you like walk past like the actual temple of the Knights of the Pale, you can see on like the face of some of these statues of knights where the dust like has come from where the Pythonese house is, kind of northwest of this temple from the Knights of the Pale. And you're like, you can physically see that it almost like draws them into like a dichotomy of like the side that's closest facing to the dust and the side that's away from it. Sometimes it splits faces into hemispheres. Sometimes it's splitting, you know, like the back of the head against the front. It just kind of depends on the direction that's facing the Pythonese house. But that open atrium very much kind of shows like where you can physically see the layers of dust that have kind of like fallen since whatever has happened here. When you are approaching along Emperor's Road and you kind of take that turn to see the Temple of the Knights of the Pale for the first time, you all would also then notice some of the sounds of battle ahead of you. And assuming that you're going to start to quicken the pace and start to run forward, I would like Constitution saves. If you all are just kind of running normal, like if you're just kind of moving normal, let me know. But I assume you quicken the pace when it becomes evident that you're like moving towards battle.
Yeah, I think Dalton's going kind of moving to a full sprint almost.
Yeah, Jinx definitely yells, "Oh shit, it's still going for sure. That's battle." And he starts taking off. I got 23.
Yeah. Gale is following suit.
And 16 for Dalton.
Oof, a 10 for Gale.
Can you also roll for Bob, Tom, and Terry?
So Terry was a 13, but I think he also has proficiency on con save.
Yeah, I think that would be a 14 or 15 for Bob with her proficiency.
Excellent. And how about
What is their plus if they don't have anything listed?
it's just nil, just like zeroed out.
Okay, so 6.
All right. So as you guys are running up, you definitely start to notice as Tom starts to lag behind, and you basically are going to arrive kind of at this situation at the Pythonese house where Tom is absolutely knackered. You can kind of see like the whole time you like wondered if Bob was the female because Tom looks pregnant. Tom has like a gut, and you can kind of tell Tom sitting around the goblin house indulging himself. He's kind of gotten himself a little bit out of shape for being an actual adventurer. But yeah, by the time you guys get there, like with this run, Tom's just gonna be you, Bob. Yeah. And he like catches his breath, and like all of you guys can pop right into action. Tom's gonna kind of like miss the first sort of round of combat, and otherwise he's got disadvantage on ability checks that he might be doing. But in the long run, theoretically, that's not necessarily what these guys are there for doing. Um, but effectively, he's gonna have one level of exhaustion from like the run, like past the Knights of the Pales temple and up to the Pythonese house here.
That's what we get for putting him on the bench, or should I say, keeping him on the bench.
Alrighty, so when you guys basically move up, you're going to kind of see this like massive hole in the earth along the actual Pythonese house. You can see the Hydra like kind of like climbing around the actual like walls of the house itself. There's different like knights who are kind of like pushing it up against the like wall as they kind of like push forward. There's other figures who you can still kind of like spot. They are like crawling their way out of the actual like pit. You've got the actual like demon-headed goat that's like standing along the walls, and it's like bringing down like magical powers against some of the knights. I did not actually preset for wizards here. But you basically are going to see some of the actual wizards of the inverted pyramid kind of entered into this battle as well. Among them, some of them like actually like floating overhead, some of them actually like down on the ground, like kind of backing them up from, you know, like immediate positions. But you're kind of like walking into a fray where there's a lot of different activities going on here. You've got like knights who are actually battling on the roof of the temple. There's different like hellhounds going on up there. But one of the things that you can kind of notice is there is signs that not only is the Hydra rising, but there's actually like demons rising as well from this place. At very least, you see that goat-headed god among some of the first things. So you guys can kind of place your. Oh wait, you can't actually place yourselves, so I need to drop you.
Is the title of today's episode "The Night of Dissolution" by chance?
It's an entire happening. Like it's not just like one kind of like singular event.
Oh no, I know. I was not expecting demons to be coming up out of here. That's like exactly what I thought. I always like laugh at your titles afterwards because I'm like, oh, now it's so obvious.
All right, so I think that can be sufficient for your tokens there. I do want to drop a few more wizards here, but this is kind of what you guys are like running up to the gates of the Pythonese house and seeing. This is effectively like the sort of open greens, like inside of the actual like gate of the Pythonese house. I think the gate would probably be. I don't know why I specifically deleted it here, but I think it would be closer to the front of the pit. But for what it's worth, like it's perfectly viable that like the actual like iron gate has kind of like collapsed in the falling of that like section of the like house collapsing essentially into a sinkhole. So while it's vastly kind of like filled in with dirt, the bottom of that pit when you approach it is probably still 75, 100 feet deep before you can see sort of like the rubble kind of like filling in the bottom of it. But all of it is entirely kind of like visibly still like dangerous to slip over that edge. There's definitely levels of like the actual edge of this can still collapse at any given point. There's massive sections of the actual castle that are overhanging the edge with no actual like earth supporting the structure anymore. So yeah, there's definitely kind of like a massive level of like this whole area is now sort of an open pit. You just don't know what areas aren't going like will collapse underneath you if you get close enough to it, kind of thing.
So, like, the closer we get to that part, or the part that's actually a pit right now, is anything in or on that is danger, or we don't know for sure.
Well, kind of what I'm saying is you have to appreciate. You don't need to see somebody falling into the pit to recognize that like approaching the edge of the pit is probably supremely dangerous.
And then, actually, the parts that's the pit, is that like difficult ground also?
If you fell into it, yeah, it would 100% be difficult terrain. What are y'all thinking? What kind of strategies do you have as you like approach into this situation?
I think I would be like spitballing. Uh, is it basically all the enemies are kind of concentrated up like in the house, and then obviously the Hydra?
Hydra is almost like on the wall. You can see some of its heads are like striking against the back of the paladins who have moved against the like goat-headed demon. But the like Hydra itself is kind of like both on and off the building, kind of fighting in both directions of it.
Anything that can do area effect or control would be ideal here. I could do some Bane, hit quite a few of them. Maybe could do like hypnotic pattern or something.
So, yeah, Dalton was not expecting. He wasn't even thinking like, okay, we got to go fight the Hydra. But then all these, so Dalton's thinking kind of, we need to deal with the Hydra first because it's going to be difficult to get up and help the any of the knights that have gone up there until we can neutralize his threat on the ground here. In terms of the area of effect stuff, you want to, Dalton was, kind of, we need to be careful not to hit the knights and the. Do we know that the wizards are, or I guess, do we know that they're with the inverted pyramid? I don't know if they wear like distinctive robes or. I mean, we know. I mean, Gale assume. We assume he. Or yeah, he guess let us know, or I think
Jinx already knew because of their conversation, but you would have definitely been brought up to speed that Gale took the time to notify the inverted pyramid. And I think that's sufficient enough to understand, like, wizard spellcasters in this city are pretty much always involved with the inverted pyramid. Unless they are explicitly against the inverted pyramid, it's pretty much what magicians do.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, and that makes sense. And that was very smart too, by the way, Gail. But yeah, so Dalton's thinking we should focus on the Hydra to start.
Yeah, I agree with that. Get rid of the Hydra first. I'll make sure to throw some fire at it just to be sure in case it stops the regeneration like a normal Hydra.
I'm trying to think back to our first fight with it and whether we, because it definitely seemed to regrow a couple heads. I can't remember what we actually tried against it. Nothing worked though, and we didn't stick around for very long before we fled. So
I'm gonna give slow a try. Try to get as many of them as I can. Give us an advantage.
just to clarify, Jink, are you referring to the when you say them, like because I think most of the ones on the ground would be our allies.
Yeah, I think pretty much anything like Hydra East is a good guy, and then like all the guys up inside the building are bad guys.
Let me have you guys all roll insights.
14.
That is a 6 for Gale.
And a 13 for Dalton.
So I think from your perspective here, like from the ground level, you guys can see that the goat-headed demon is like standing up top. You can see that there is fighting happening up top, and you can see that the Hydra is striking at something up top, but you guys probably can't actually see like those figures there.
Yeah, because that's like what, this 4+ stories up.
Yeah, those are like 6th and 7th story of the Pythonese house. So it's a solid 60, 80 feet above you that all of that is happening. And that's why I say, like, you can see the Hydra striking out at shit in that direction. You can see the attention of the demon is focused that way, but you can't quite tell of those 4 figures, like which ones are on whose side. You can only kind of tell that there is effectively a clash of sort of sides happening there. So I think it's probably far more to recognize, like, if you can do something to the Hydra, that will give you all the potential of like taking the building and start to figure out what you might be able to do from there.
Yeah, I think trying to get up top with that thing still kind of moving around is would be dicey.
All right. Well, I'm gonna give it a shot. So yeah, I think I'm gonna. It's our turn to act and everything, right?
Let me just have everybody roll initiative here.
Uh, 19 for Dalton.
21 for Gale.
And a 9er for James.
Yeah, so you guys can start off by acting.
All right. Yeah, I think. Well, first thing is to get closer. So Dalton's running.
I think Gale at least will just throw a firebolt at it before moving closer. So let's see. That is an 18 to hit.
Solid hit.
And that is 7 fire damage. Yeah, I think Bob is just gonna rush in as fast as she can, so she's sprinting.
I think Dalton from here as he runs is at this point just able to is just in range for a vicious mockery. So kind of as he's running, he's like, they say 2 heads are better than 1, but this is ridiculous. Um, taking it too far at the Hydra.
What's your DC? 15?
Yes, sorry, 15. Yeah.
And that was for 5 damage?
Yes. Yeah. And then Terry is going to action dash because he can't do much from range. So he's going to get somewhat close to the pit. So let me know if he needs to, like, I think he said the ground is looking a little unstable. So he's going to try and skirt it.
Yeah, let me have, it looks like from Tom and Terry, a dexterity save with advantage.
That's going to be a 10 for Terry.
And that's like a 25 or something for Tom.
Oh yeah, they're both good. More probably where like Terry can actually kind of feel like when you step on that ground, it's not firm earth.
Sorry, I had brought him back to where he first got close to the pin in case he failed, but I think that's where he ended up.
Oh yeah, and I threw you guys down far more to put you on the board, not necessarily that you had to start in that weird line.
Oh, it's fine. I mean, Terry's in full plate armor, so he made sense that he was not quite at the front of the line, given we kind of started rushing over here. So, but he'll be able to get there soon enough.
Oh, should Tom be able to move this first round? He coming in later, or was that just like he couldn't attack on the first round?
Tom's fine there. Doesn't have to be like a big penalization. As long as he wasn't attacking this round, that's really what I was getting at.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna go for a slow on the Hydra if it's my turn now.
I don't believe it matters what kind of save it is. I believe it's going to fail.
It's 15 wisdom.
Oh yeah, it's super wise. It's got a plus 10 wisdom, so it has a lot of effect.
I was still thinking about minusing it just in case.
Gotcha. So slow does something that is completely contrary to how this creature already works. So it's going to be interesting how you see slow affect this.
Yeah, like the main thing I was thinking that would really help us is like slowing it down like speed wise, and then the minus to its AC will make it easier to hit, hopefully. So, but I didn't know like exactly what kind of legendary reactions or like any of that stuff and how that would affect it.
Is there anything else coming from you guys at this point?
I think that's it for Gale and Bob at least.
Yeah, I think that's it for me.
Yeah, nothing else for me this round.
Um, so you're definitely gonna see the actual creature moving like at a different pace here. As it is indeed going to be slowed. It's not going to prevent all of the Hydra's heads from being able to attack. It will prevent some of those attacks, but in the long run, I'm not going to limit it to just one attack here. The whole creature's stat block is the fact that each head is a different creature, kind of how they attack. So it's going to be where Slow and this thing confront each other. It's going to be easier to hit. It's not going to be able to take like bonus actions, but it's going to be kind of a twist of these two things interacting together. So you're going to see as like three of the heads are striking up towards the creatures, like up at the top. Five of the heads are striking back down into like the three knights who are holding it at the bottom. And by and large, you can see like as it's like striking into these people, like biting down into them. These paladins are kind of weathering the storm. They are certainly strong, staunch knights, but some of these attacks are always going to be kind of like too much for them to bear, and not basically walk away with more and more wounds. But you see is like one of the people up top gets like struck right into their shield. The head kind of like bites down, and like you can see the shield start to like buckle under the pressure of its maw. One of the other attacks like seems to like go wild, and there's an explosion of stone on the top of the keep, like out of sight. And you see as like dust and debris start to like rain down on everybody, most everybody not like even paying it any attention, as like some of these are like gravel size, like thumb size pieces of rock just start to rain down from above, where this thing missed an attack and like basically slammed its maw into stone. Some of the knights on the ground are like attacked by this thing. One of them ends up getting like thrown into the actual pit as it like bites down into him. Another one, her arms like crushed inside of her shield as she blocks the blow from this creature. But you can kind of see like where and why there are paladins kind of climbing out of this massive pit is potentially because they're in like this continual like foray with this thing that's trying to throw them into the pit. But you'll basically see as it's kind of like making these attacks, they are easier to telegraph as they are moving slower, but they're still large enough creatures that even with the chance to kind of like dodge them as they're moving at a slower pace, the paladins are not quite always able to avoid like the entirety of the damage kind of situation. Um, yeah, I think that's probably a pretty solid sense of what the Hydra kind of accomplishes. You're going to see as there's like blasts of power, like gleams of light from above, as they start to like push back forward. There's points where these heads are like striking back at the paladins. As they like push towards it, they bite back, and at times it's kind of like a kind of continual sense of like whether there's like a ebb and flow, there's like a pushing and like pulling, like a give and a take to like each moment by moment as they kind of like strike one into the other. But as there's like kind of a push like up top, you see as like another of this creature's like heads are kind of like lopped off of the Hydra, and as the head kind of like falls towards the ground, you can kind of see as it's still like snapping its jaw closed as they push forward. One of the knights kind of on the ground kind of like runs her blade like deep into the chest of the Hydra, and you see is like a gleaming like burning ember of light from above kind of like strikes down, and as she draws out her sword, there's like a burning pulse that comes from within the Hydra as like the sword almost like burns the flesh away from it, and she draws it out like without any resistance. And then the wizards have a pretty similar situation where they like strike down on it with these like almost like burning blades of fire that they kind of like conjure at the edge of the Hydra. And as they kind of like strike into it, you see is like the Hydra actually like strikes out and seems to like dispel one of these blades before it can hit into it. The other two like slash at it. One of them kind of like slashes into a neck and like lobs off another head, and one of the other strikes kind of like just like clunks into the metal and seems to be like non-effective at that moment. Gonna go to the demon, and you're just gonna kind of hear like screams from up above. Again, that fight is pretty well outside of your actual sight. And you're just going to kind of hear like the yell of one of these paladins from above. You hear like the baying of like many hellhounds. Like there's not simply just like dogs attacking, it's almost like there is a herd of like 20 or 30 dogs like ravaging someone's flesh, like right next to you, but it's coming from the top of this effectively like ruined building as you guys basically hear like this horrific like attack kind of taking place. And I think that's probably a pretty solid summary of how you're like kind of encountering this battle. That for many reasons, you're kind of like stepping into what has already been a somewhat like equal but pitched battle between these like kind of forces.
You will get an opportunity to repeat that wisdom saving throw at the end of each of your turns. Wisdom 15.
All right, so at present you're kind of seeing like two of the heads are operating. Well, wait, actually, because you hit 6 at first, one saved. So now 3 of the heads. Let's say. All right, so 4 of the heads seem to be moving slow. 2 of the heads seem to be moving like at a normal pace. Effectively, you watched as one slow head and one of the like normal paced heads were lopped off on this turn. So that'll bring it back around to you guys with how you want to act in this regard.
Is it possible for Gale to throw a fireball without hitting the paladins? Like just hitting the Hydra?
The way it's on the wall, you certainly have a chance of it. There'll be a small chance if you were to aim it higher that you could hit the one who's up top and you can't really see. And I think that would be the more likely way that you would sling the fireball. But it's the same idea with the ones on the ground. There's a way to sling the fireball where you'd have a slight chance where you can hit them, and you won't risk hitting somebody that you can't see. But in the long run, mechanically, what I'll say is you could sling a fireball at it, but there's either a chance that the person up top, who you can't see, could get hit, or you have a better chance that the two on the bottom, because you can see them, they won't get hit. But in the long run, I would say that you're potentially going to hit a friendly regardless.
Yeah, but then I think I would like fire it, seeing as I can't see the guy up top. I'm just gonna fire it so that don't hit the guys below. Just gonna cry out and get down and just fireball away. So that's a
Gotcha.
DC 16 dexterity.
So if I can have the Justins both roll 2d20 at advantage, those two can have advantage to take no damage. If they fail, they'll take half.
19 for my roll with advantage.
and nat 20 for the other one. Advantage.
Yeah, then they both succeed. And it's a 22 fire damage.
Gotcha. And then what's your actual DC? Is 15?
It's 16 actually.
16? I don't think slow does anything for its dexterity saves.
Yeah, it does actually.
Okay, it does. And dexterity saving throws. -2 on the dexterity. It's not a disadvantage. So
No, it's just a -2 flat.
So yeah, you see is like the Hydra kind of like recoils away from the flame. It still definitely gets like licked by the flames of the fireball. You see is like one of the paladins kind of like ducks behind his shield, and the woman whose like shield is crushed around her arm, she like kind of stands like taller as she like slams her sword forward towards this creature, and you see is like your fireball like molds around this like golden shield around her as she like stabs into the actual Hydra. You can kind of see like she's essentially like calling for Lothian to protect her, and the flames like kept off of her flesh as she stabs forward into it.
So Terry is still just running pell-mell, so he dashes again, and now he's up, hopefully where he can start swinging at this thing next turn. Dalton, he is going to try.
If you'd like, you can have Terry like run up and make his command action though. You know, keep him back away and have him at least do his command action.
But I think that requires him to make an attack.
He could throw a javelin. I have a hard time ever saying that they don't have like equipment, like having actual javelins here. So you can make like 2 javelin throws with him and have him do a command action instead of force dash. Yeah, and again, where he is doesn't really matter. He's basically next turn he can get to the Hydra.
Okay, so in that case, yeah, he will. In that case, he will throw a javelin, and he knows Bob, so he is going to. Come on, Bob, get in there, and he will use his commanding strike to let Bob make an attack.
Bob whiffs hard with a 8 total. Rolled a 2.
And I think Terry's probably going to miss because his ranged attacks won't have his +6, I don't think, because it's strength based. So that should just be a flat 9 to hit, which I imagine will miss with the javelin.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good.
But Dalton, this is hoping that I mean, this thing's massive, but maybe, you know, if he can, he's going to try and shrink it down a bit, and maybe that, you know, it might, I don't know, you know, maybe it won't be able to reach the guys on the, you know, the top anymore, because it's clearly attacking something up there. So he's going to cast enlarge reduce, the reduce option on the Hydra. And I'd like to use my inspiration to give it disadvantage on the saving throw, which is a this is a Constitution saving throw.
Even with disadvantage, I've got a 12 rolled.
Yeah, so if it's got a +3, it's good. Which I imagine for con it likely does.
Before you say if it's a success or a failure, can I modify that, please?
You can certainly try. That's precisely why I said how I did.
Thank you. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity. So yeah, I will use a bardic inspiration on that to subtract 1d8.
I think a 1 or a 2 fails.
So 5.
Yep. So yeah, you're gonna watch as the Hydra shrinks down. As it's like almost like pulled off of the side of the wall, it kind of like starts to fall down the wall. You know, it's still kind of like clinging into the stones of the wall, but now it's far more like almost like an enemy kind of like fighting from the wall of this castle than that it's like absorbed in battle above and beside the castle.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I don't know if it will come up, but that also gives it will give it disadvantage on strength checks and saving throws, and weapon attacks deal 1d4 less damage.
Excellent.
See, I think Bob then would unleash her frenzy. Let's see, 3 attacks.
So I do your normal. Oh wait, your normal attack with Bob already missed. This is her normal turn.
Yeah, like the commanded action missed, and this is so let's see, that would be what is that? A 16 to hit
Solid hit.
and 21 to hit and 7 to hit.
Yep, there's definitely somewhere between when you guys are rolling pretty high and pretty low where its AC lies. It is neither around 5 nor is it around 20.
Yeah, so let's see, what is her D12, right? D12. So that is a total of 20 damage from Bob.
Excellent.
And then I'm going to go with the flash powder from Tom. So it just says target within 60 feet explodes in a blinding flash. Each creature within 5 feet of the flash must make a Constitution saving throw or be blinded. So I'm just going to try to like get as many heads as I can.
Roll a percentile. Actually, my bad. Start with a 28. Roll a d20 like a dexterity check with Bob or with a damn it, Tom.
It's an 11, but if it's an actual dexterity, I do have advantage on that. Or it's my primary ability, rather.
Yeah, so I think that's like a 19 right now with Tom. So I would say you're gonna like it'll make it favorable for hitting the dexterity. So I'd say you hit 3/4 of the heads. So I'm gonna say that's 4 heads hit, and it can be 2 of them are like the faster ones. So right now you've got 4 saves coming, and what is it? It's are they Constitution saves to be blinded?
Yeah, Constitution saving throw, and then again repeat at the end of each of your turns.
These are the slowed heads. These are the non-slowed. Shit, I didn't pay attention to the first 2. What was his save? Oh wait, you
Doesn't
guys don't
actually
have the
say.
save. I feel like the save starts at 13 and goes to 15, maybe. God, I don't remember the first set. I got to roll them again. The 9 is a 14, so that one fails. Yeah, so you blind one of the non-slowed heads. All right, so that kind of got around for all of you, right?
So I still have the spell active. I'm allowed to cast a non-concentration spell, right?
That's correct. Yep.
Man, I can't. All right, I'm still out of range. Okay, so I guess I'm just gonna do a disadvantage attack to him. Vicious mockery. So he'll just say, "You're running out of heads quick. I'm glad we got here before you were smoked." And I'll vicious mockery one of the like fast heads if I can. And it's wisdom 15, or take 4 damage.
Alrighty. So you are going to see, as you guys basically are surrounding and chopping into this thing, as basically like, was Bob really the only one who, I guess the explosion from the fireball kind of taking off a head in that explosion, and then probably, Bob's attacks kind of taking off another head, but basically it's going to lose another 2 heads as like you all are attacking there. But you're going to see as it sprouts like 2 more heads coming into like one of those separating. It spawns 2 more from there. So it's kind of limited on the wall there. It's going to actually kind of move through and over to here. We're gonna get 6 attacks on 4. So, alrighty. So, whoops, my bad. Let's go. First attack, and this is from a slow head, so I think that's at -2. Right? Yeah. No. Saving throws and AC, not on its attacks. So this is just disadvantage first attack against one of the paladins, like on the north there. Um, so it's gonna smash into him with a hit. Second attack is just against Bob. What's Bob's AC? I feel like Bob has high AC.
Bob has 15 AC.
Alrighty. So you see as the Hydra like almost smashes into and grabs onto Bob, but just kind of barely misses, like scraping against armor. And then it's going to attack the second paladin, like just a little south of Bob. And it's going to smash into her, like already kind of broken shield arm. And then it is going to make 3 attacks against the wizard. One of these is the blind head, will be at disadvantage. Let's say the wizard procs shield with a 17, and just barely kind of defends as this like first blind head just strikes out at random, and you see is like this glow of magic shield him, and we'll say those second two attacks also fall to the shield, as like three strikes from the Hydra all just grab into this magical force surrounding the wizard. And you can see like as the wizard kind of like almost like falls to a knee, like defending against the power of this Hydra. The actual damage, I'm just gonna reduce the die instead of rolling that d4. Is gonna be. That was in a d8. There we go. That's a d8. So first one for 8, and the second one was the crit. For 12. Yeah, so you see is like it smashes into these, and you'll again kind of further see evidence like of um how like closely kind of pitched this battle is. That even with your aid, things are still dire. But you do have the Hydra kind of like shrunk down, its attention a little bit more focused. You've got it still kind of clinging about that 6 heads, but it's no longer kind of like fighting at both of these fronts. You do hear kind of the screams of the battle above, as the paladins kind of push forward up top, and then down below. You kind of see as the paladins kind of make a few strikes into it. They are not capable of taking off another head at this point, as they strike out. But you do get 2 more of these paladins kind of like making it up to the actual like top edge, and sort of climbing out, before the wizards kind of like focus around, and they are going to, this time with kind of like a massive like a burst of thunder. You hear as the like crack of thunder like happens over this creature, and you see as different parts of the metal almost have like splinters kind of go through them. And one of the necks of the creature falls off from the uh fresh heads. One of those fresh heads that kind of just respawned, just falls from that neck. And then the demon. The demon actually pushes up top, and you're going to see as one of these knights like slams against the parapet above, and is going to fall to the ground below. And at present, that knight is going to fall unconscious as they slam into the ground. You don't see them moving. How are you all going to react here?
So Dalton, so you can see, so the heads are respawning. So he's gonna kind of like cry out like back towards Gale and Jinx. Fire doesn't seem to be uh, stopping it. Mechanical, maybe short circuit it somehow. But otherwise, he is he's moving forward. Coming up around on the other side of it, and he is going to, drawing out his the long sword is going to slash out at the creature. But I think with the long sword's going to miss. Um, with a bonus action, he's going to can you give Bardic Inspiration to Terry?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah, so he'll kind of like, come on, Terry, and Terry is rushing up, kind of on the other side here, and he is also going to swing out at it. All right, so one attack is going to completely whiff, then that one. Second attack, it would be an 18 to. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, 18 to hit.
Solid hit.
That will be for 6 damage. And he's going to go ahead and use another commanding strike to give Bob another shot.
Oh, this one is better. That's an 18 to hit for 8 damage.
Excellent. Solid hit.
How far up are those ones on the building? Let's say like 60 feet, 50 feet.
I think that roof is 60 feet up.
All right. So then I am gonna summon my, or like manifest my spellbook. Yeah, manifest my awakened spellbook, and it's gonna be like just 60 feet straight above me. And that's it for that. That, funnily enough, isn't an action or a bonus action. That's just something I can do. But yeah, I'm gonna heed Dalton's word and just try to shoot a firebolt that I change into a electric bolt instead at the Hydra. Oof, that would be 13 to hit.
That will just hit.
For 9 electric damage.
Excellent.
Then for my bonus action, I'm gonna move my, like, I'm not sure if I can have like a little token for my spellbook, because I can actually fire from that 3 times. Yeah, basically I'm just gonna have it like move 30 feet, like it'll be like in the middle of the sinkhole, but like 60 feet above my head. So something like there. And yeah, because I can like see from that book as well. It has like, I think 60 feet of vision. Yeah, let's see, it has dark vision with a range of 60 feet, but yeah, I can telepathically like link to the book and see from it. Then I think Bob will just frenzy like before, try to chop off some heads. Oh, that's a nat 1, and then 21 and 17 to hit.
Excellent. 2 of those are hits.
And she will do 19 damage.
Excellent. So I feel like that should take us to Jinx and Tom.
Yep. So Jinx is gonna just yell out as he pulls his boomerang out and gets ready. You see like the crackling energy on it, and then he's just gonna yell out, "Look out, Terry! We don't want to repeat of last time." And then I'm just gonna lightning bolt the Hydra and hopefully not hit Terry again.
Gotcha. Are you moving first?
Oh, I already moved myself.
Oh,
So
my
that-
bad. I was looking at Dalton, who is still at the back.
Oh, you mean Gale?
Oh, yeah, my bad. Yeah.
So depending like how you're doing it, like head by head or just all at once, it's a total of 8d6 damage if you fail a Dex 15 save.
I rolled a nat 15. You guys want to modify that at all?
I'll cutting words.
All right, it's going to
Reaction.
fail. You don't have to roll. It's going to fail.
Nice. So it is 26 total.
Gotcha. And for Tom?
So it'd be like a 22 for 2d6 plus 2. $11 damage.
I don't see why he wouldn't gain extra attack. He's not specifically a rogue.
That one's a miss.
Gotcha. But you said 11 damage on that first one?
Yes, sir. 11 damage.
Gotcha. Can each of you roll a d6?
I rolled a 1.
6 for me.
Minus 6 also.
Alrighty. So yeah, that turn you guys are going to drop 2 more of the normal heads and then 1 of the slow heads. So there's like 1 slow head and 1 blinded head. I forgot to save against the slow. So yeah, there's not actually slow anymore. But yeah. Blind was the same thing, right? Where I should have been saving against it.
Yeah, at the end of each of your turns for both of them.
What was the blind one? It was against Khan still, right?
Blind was the con, yep.
So yeah, you guys see as 3 more heads fall off. And 4 more heads are going to spawn. Still at 6 heads. So you guys looked at the manual of golems. You had a solid bit of kind of like reference of what you could find. that quite honestly, you've got two different creatures between like constructs and golems and like their lack of weaknesses because they're like mindless creatures compared to something like this, which tends to have like fire issues that metal doesn't have. At this point, you kind of have a solid sense of the Hydra needs to be overwhelmed by force. You just need to kill it faster than it can regenerate heads. And you're kind of sitting right about the area where you're expending just about as much as it regenerates as you're fighting it. So it's kind of like a weird little like Pyrrhic victory kind of fighting it at this point. But I definitely think at this point, it doesn't really matter. You can kind of sense like, doesn't really matter what you're throwing at it. You just need to overwhelm it with damage. Is kind of like the way of fighting this thing. So the Hydra now has 7, 8, 8 of you right around it. All right, so it is going to strike out at kind of everybody around it except for Tom and Dalton right now. So Paladin and Paladin, 2 wizards, Bob and Terry. Yeah. So Paladin, Paladin. It's going to hit one of the Paladins, Wizard, Wizard. I feel like same idea, giving them a shield is a pretty viable. Wizards don't want to get bitten by a Hydra. And then we'll do Bob. Nat 10 to hit Bob. If you let it go, it is going to hit Bob. Can you make a con save? I'd say, I think still, I think Bob has a plus to con, so don't roll a 1.
That is a 9 plus, what is it, 5?
And I don't think there's anything you can do to stop Terry from getting hit there. Terry has con as a thing as well. Roll a not 1.
5.
So yeah, it like bites into like Tom or Bob and Terry, but by and large they're able to like between like the armor kind of like holding beneath its jaws, kind of like getting your sword like in between its jaws. So if it bites down further, it has to like crunch into your own sword. Bob and Terry, damn that T and T. Bob and Terry are able to kind of resist these wounds as these heads like strike down into it. And it's gonna go to the knights. So let's see how that knight does. Oh yeah, that knight's gonna die.
That's the one that fell, right?
Yeah, yeah. Look, somebody's gotta die. He just paid the price that somebody had to pay. And then we got, what is it? 1, 2. He'll get into the fight. He'll kind of climb up to the edge, get to the edge. He'll kind of get up there. Yeah, I think that kind of looks pretty good there. Um, Wizard's gonna try to back off. The two of them are gonna back off some, and each of them are gonna get struck by a head as they do so. Gotcha. Yeah. So you see is like I mean, I'm not even gonna mark this, but the one at the top, like she shields that like strike as it like tries to bite down into her. She steps back. And then we're gonna do the you see as the paladins are like striking out, I think it's probably pretty viable that they're able to kind of like remove one of these heads from the creature as they're fighting it. The wizards are kind of striking out with their spells, kind of like trying to form like the same idea to like attack in concert with the paladins. But it really just is like as they're battling to kind of sustain themselves and keep like safe. The wizards just are not terribly effective. As they're like one slings like makes that same flaming sword, and all of a sudden like the hydra's like snapping out at her, like you see as her sword like dissipates. Another one starts to like form this strike up and like leaps out of the way and just kind of sends like a firebolt flying. But you just kind of see like the wizards just kind of like drop the ball on like staying on the same page of how they attack on this go here. Up top, she's overwhelmed, but she does pretty good as like the actual like baying of the dogs kind of quiets a little bit. We're gonna go for she's gonna drop one of these hellhounds with a smite there. And then it is to the actual demon. Still with a little bit of advantage. Yeah, she's gonna get like slammed up to the edge as the demon kind of like pushes forward. Let me have one of you make a dexterity saving throw for me again. Just whoever throws one first. Yeah, you see as she's like pushed up to the edge of the parapet, and as like the goat-headed demon like forces an arm forward, she starts to like fly back into the stone, and the stones like falter behind her. But you see is like a golden shield kind of like forms like just behind her butt. She like steps onto the actual shield with like a crouched leg and immediately like pushes back into the goat-headed demon, like braced against this golden shield floating in the air. And that's going to take it back to you guys.
All right, so Dalton is going to take one hand off of the long sword, and he's going to reach out for the nearest head, and he's going to try to inflict wounds on it. He's going to cast it at 3rd level. Yeah, that should hit. Yeah, that'll hit.
Solid hit.
Ooh, that's terrible damage for a 3rd level. 21 necrotic damage.
X.
And then Terry is just swinging away. He's going to use his bardic inspiration for the first attack, which was a 5. Which is an 11 with his bonus, and then plus 6 would make it a 17. The other one I think was an 18. I think those should both
Solid
hit.
hit.
And then the damage would be a total of 11.
Excellent.
And this is just a normal attack for him this turn. He wants to save that last commanding strike for now.
Gotcha.
Yeah, let's see. I think Gale will throw out what is it, like Earbard's Black Tentacle? It's a 20-foot cube, like around the Hydra. Want to place it so it doesn't hit anyone else. I think I should be able to do that.
Simple enough.
And that's a Dexterity 16 saving throw.
Roll the nat 14. Anybody want to modify it?
I'll do a minus D8 to it.
Excellent. It is going to fail then.
Alright, then I'll take 3d6 bludgeoning damage. Or 11 damage. And it's restrained. And Bob will, yeah, she want to take this down quickly, so it's another frenzy. And I think that's her last one. Yeah, it is.
I just want to point out, when you guys get to share your turns, if Dalton's going to start off and you're planning on throwing something that can restrain a creature, you should probably tell Justin to hold off and let you cast that spell, so he has the potential to benefit from it as well.
Yeah, I should have.
Like,
but
you
that-
guys don't have to go Justin, Chris, Dalton, or Justin, Chris, Justin every time. You can go Justin, Chris, Justin, Bob, Tom. You can go in whatever order you want. Maximize it for yourselves. You're sharing a turn.
Yeah, I mean, if I hadn't really decided what I want to do yet before Dalton started, so I was still debating on
Well,
if I wanted
to
to
point
help
out things, wizards are control long before their damage. You should be turning the battlefield in your favor quite often, not necessarily like being a primary source of damage. So it's one of those things to recognize. A lot of what a wizard does is actually stuff like that, where you're restraining your creature so you guys can kill it more effectively.
Okay. Yeah, let's see. Bob's turn at least. Yeah, I didn't hit a crit on any of those. But they all should hit, because that's 21, 18, no, 19, 20, 21. Yeah, 19, 20, 21 to hit.
There should be all at advantage, so roll again.
Oh, then 2 of those will be crits.
The secret's on 18s now.
Yeah, 18, 19, 20 for the frenzy.
Damn, remind me not to get Bob upset.
Yeah, what is it? Like full damage and the roll damage for crits, right?
Yeah, so I think it's just what is it? I think he does 15 plus the roll.
Yeah, so 30 plus 2 rolls. Holy shit, yeah, that's a lot of damage.
Well, the third would have hit still anyway, so it's really like 35 plus 3 rolls.
Oh no, wouldn't it still just be 30 plus 3 rolls though? Because it's 2 crits. and
Well,
2 of
my
those.
point is though, is like the 5 is what his plus is,
Oh, okay, yeah.
or +3. I think +3 is his damage, so it's 33 plus 3 rolls of a d12.
Yeah, but the plus isn't it like it's D12 plus 3?
Is it-
I
yeah.
always get confused by this shit.
So just roll 3 d12s, and you're adding 33 to it. One of the crits is a +15, the other crit's a +15, and the normal one is +3 for the strength.
Damn, that's a good damage roll.
So
Yeah,
what was that there?
28 plus 33.
28 plus 33, so 50, 61.
Yeah. Holy shit. Bob. Go Bob.
And then to Jinx and Tom.
So same thing. 2 13s plus like 5 or something. So 18 plus 6.
I feel like his it's like a +8 once they're level 5. So I think they're still all hits there.
Okay, so it'll be 12 plus 4. So 16 total damage from Tom.
And then from Jinx.
And then Jinx is going to try to get like a clear shot again, and you'll see him pick up his boomerang one more time. And I'm gonna go for another lightning bolt.
Gotcha. You're kind of in the worst sort of placement there. Just because of where you're at. I think you're potentially gonna hit Bob, one of the paladins, and one of the wizards where you're at.
If I moved like one space down, would that help at all, or like up where the dead guy's at? I only have like 1 or 2 squares left.
I mean, it's a little bit better there, but it's not ideal. But sort of, yeah.
I'll just stay where I was and shoot Bob. It's good for the energy, right? You're doing a really good job, Bob, and I really am sorry for this, but and I'm gonna shoot my lightning bolt. And can I use my inspiration to give Bob advantage on his save?
I mean, again, I'm gonna have Bob the paladin and that wizard all like rolling to save on this one.
Would Bob normally have advantage or no?
I mean, you could give it to him, but realistically, yeah, it kind of goes out of the way. I think Bob has a high chance of not taking anything or basically getting downed just because of the nature of what a lightning bolt is.
All right, well then can I do disadvantage on the Hydra?
I think that probably feels a little bit better. So roll for your actual lightning bolt here.
Oh yeah, it's a big
Oh,
juicy 36.
And then let me have each of you roll a d20 here. Chris, you can be Bob. Justin Dalton, you'll be the paladin, and then Jinx, you can be the wizard.
Yeah, so the paladin got a 13.
Bob got an 11.
I feel like probably the wizard's the only one likely to have any dexterity out of that group. But I don't think the 11's enough because you've got 15, right, Jinx?
Yeah, I have 15. I'm gonna use my bardic inspiration to give him plus 1d8 on that.
Gotcha.
I think, I mean, don't think that's needed actually. If I can use, because don't know if you remember, but Bob has a reaction she can do to ignore all damage taken from one attack.
Oh, I got the impression he was saying for the wizard.
Oh, I thought he said for Bob. So yeah, I was
Oh yeah, the
confused.
wizard. Sorry. Yeah, it's only 3. I don't know if that's gonna be enough.
Yeah, it's enough to basically dodge it. Because again, I feel like as friendlies, you can get like an evasion on how I kind of play that idea. It's just like you probably know least of all that that wizard is back there as you're like lining up a lightning bolt for this massive creature. Even if it is smaller, it is still a large creature. So yeah, like Paladin's gonna take some of the blast just because of his armor. Bob gonna take some of the blast, but are you ignoring it with Bob? Is that what your reaction is?
Yeah, 3 times a day I can ignore all damage taken from one attack.
And the Hydra with that blast is going to lose what is going to be all of the heads in this round. Um, I have been rolling to see what heads regenerate, to see if it has a chance, though. I'm going to give it one roll to see if it is able to try to regenerate in the least bit before then seeing which heads regenerate. And I'm going to put this on a 6. If it rolls a 6, it can regenerate. If not, this is the end of the Hydra as you guys gang up on it. And you're going to see as the body slumps down with the final of these heads kind of removed from it, from the necrosis that like consumed one of the heads from Dalton's hand, to the wounds of Bob almost cutting off 3 heads singularly, to the final head kind of like frying beneath the lightning that like arcs between all of these heads. The Hydra goes limp, and you're just going to hear from the castle above, "You damned fools. But it's too late anyways. The Hydra was only ever an interesting toy. The night of dissolution is. You have brought it about, and you cannot stop it." And the goat demon is going to disappear. And the hellhound, because it's not leaving that cute ass pug behind.
So Dalton is going to, as it says this, and he's going to try and shout, kind of like trying to be a little inspiring, like don't listen to it. It's just trying to trick us. You know, we've done good here. As he kind of gestures to the now kind of destroyed creature, but in his mind he's thinking like, yeah, he's worried. This is just the beginning.
I mean, he didn't leave because he was winning. That's for sure. Jinx will like see to anyone's wounds if they're in rough shape. Anybody needs any healing? Got some.
Oh, and Dalton is just going to warn, anyone that's still close to the Hydra to just give it some space, because once they clear away, he will drop the spell. So I presume the now dead thing will once again grow to its previous size. But he would kind of like let people know to back away and all that before he did that.
I don't know, because it becomes an object once it's dead. I'm not sure if it's affected the same way, if it's like goes forward and reverse.
Yeah, oddly, the spell says that like any item it drops while it's been reduced. Let me read the wording again. Any item dropped by an affected creature returns to normal size at once. Okay, so I guess the way I'm reading that is like as its heads were being chopped off, they actually grew, like the dead
Oh, yeah,
one.
definitely. Every time one of those heads got chopped off, you guys would see as it like gets a little bit bigger.
Yeah, but then after it's dead, I don't know exactly how that works. But he would still just warn just in case if it might once he ends the spell. This is actually the first time he's used it, so he actually has no idea what happens.
So you will notice I think it was one of the first nights out of the like pit. We'll actually walk over to like the Fallen Dead Night of the Pale. And you guys would recognize at that point that it is Stylus. Like walking over, he will bend over this person, and he is going to cast Revivify. And you'll watch as this like dead soldier, like you can see some of the bones of his back are like misshapen where he like fell to the ground and basically like expired with a broken spine. You see his spine kind of straightens up a little bit. There's definitely like that like weird kind of like grinding of bone as it like realigns itself. And you'll basically see is like just with like a gasping breath of air, that person is going to come back to, as Stylus kind of like finishing like revivifying this guy, still like a hand to his chest, will kind of look to you all, and I had started to doubt whether you were truly interested in the first place in this combat. But after such a pitched battle, none of us are disappointed to see you arrive.
So we are sorry we could not get here sooner. But clearly you've did an excellent job keeping it in bay until we could arrive to help. So I think you deserve more of the credit than we do. And that's Dalton still feeling guilty about kind of being the one who forced the issue of getting in the rest, but he's glad that it seems to, for the most part, work out okay.
It has been a long time for many of us since we have fought beside the arcane. But we do understand that it was your will that sent the inverted pyramid to our aid, and perhaps if you cannot help directly, it is always best to have one's friends in their stead. So it can't be said that you went without aiding us.
we're picking up what you're putting down. It's good to see you guys working together, reunited, so to speak. Time we move on past this whole wizards and paladins and the hatred and everything.
Dark times call for overcoming past grievances.
We got bigger fish to fry, is what he's saying.
Yes, indeed, Jinx, much bigger.
Won't be the last we hear of that demon. Wish there was some way we could know what its next plan was or where it was headed.
There is no doubt where it is headed. It heads for the necropolis, for its allies on the surface. Whatever bound it in this place fell with these walls. Its freedom was won with the fall of the Hydra. With blood in battle, one must always wash themselves clean with libations. Join us in the halls of victors to enjoy what joy can be had in freedom. To Lothian, would you not all drink to your salvation?
Yeah, sure. We'd be glad to join you. Hey, should we chop this Hydra up into like little pieces or anything like that, or is it like once it's dead, it's dead? Like, because the regenerative thing really just got me worried a little bit.
We battled it through the night. When its heads fell, they regenerated or they did not. And he kind of like looks back at it. I see no reason to assume this thing is any more dangerous than some other mundane object. But we could perhaps dispose of it.
I don't certainly don't know how these things work, but wouldn't want to give seeing it as some sort of constructed thing. Would hate to give that goat-headed demon or its followers any chance to repair it, if such a thing might be possible. Again, I don't know, but think to Jinx's point, best to be safe and destroyed utterly. Scatter the pieces, throw them into the ocean.
Silas is going to walk over to it and draw his sword. You're going to see as he like prays to Lothian, his sword starts to like glow with like a golden outline, but the actual blade itself almost starts to like tarnish into a deep like blackness until you can't actually see the blade itself, and it's just this void of light. And just that little like tiny little outline of gold, like a pinstripe around the blade's edge. And once it kind of like glows with this gold and this darkness just like falls into the blade, he's just going to like draw it up between his hands with the blade down, plunge it into the like chest of what remains of the Hydra, and with like a crackle and then an explosion, you're just going to hear like this boom as the Hydra's body just disappears.
Jinx will immediately take credit. That was my idea, so I get the credit, at least half of it.
Perhaps you could earn such credits with Lothian through service, honor, and most of all, prayer. Many, 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 many hours of prayer.
Oh, sure. I'm sure we've all earned Lothian's favor today, and I mean, I'd do it again if it was, right circumstances. So, a cigarette, I'll offer him one.
When you like light up the cigarette, you like take that like first hit and your lungs like really, really appreciate like this like taste of nicotine and kind of the feel like flowing into your blood system. And he's just gonna step up to you and puts a hand on your shoulder and you feel like a like kind of warmth flow over you as the effects of the nicotine like dissipate and your body immediately is craving a cigarette again. And he's just like, Lothian, heal those who are weakest.
Sure, sure. Do that again, we're gonna have a problem. I mean, I know you guys are a little uptight, but gotta have some vices.
Dalton kind of trying to maybe kind of de-escalate his. What was that you said about libations, praising Lothian? Maybe we should get to that.
To Blade Chapel, friends. And you see as like the three wizards kind of like look on from the side, and they kind of like nod to you all. Libations are duly noted. If invited, we would extend the goodwill of the inverted pyramid and join you in a celebration of the fall of our foe. And you can kind of like rest with a little bit of confidence in this is probably going to be the first time that a like paladin of Lothian is basically going to break bread with a wizard in like a celebration of battle that is not the two of them killing each other.
Yeah, I'm sure it's gonna be a real cool party on account of the libations. As Jinx like hits his cigarette again to see if it works.
Yeah, it's definitely like that, like first cigarette that you would have smoked probably when you were like an 8-year-old child, like sneaking behind the Order of Dyra to like get your first hit of nicotine. It like feels like that.
I like sit down on the ground.
And Dalton is starting to compose in his head some oratory about Gale the Peacemaker, how he kind of ended this centuries-long feud.
So theoretically, solid place for us to stop here. It would be perfectly like legit if you guys had like any bookkeeping or other stuff to kind of accomplish. But we'll pretty much like let this kind of slingshot forward in time, and next week when we meet, we'll be back on like the idea of things happening in real time. Um, which will probably include effectively you guys kind of finding out Neferndel wasn't going on her own. Neferndel is actually missing. And on some level, you guys are going to have to search after and find Nephi, or just kind of resign to her being gone.
Well, I think we gotta find Nephi, or try at least.
I think we should all admit also that Bob, after that compelling speech that she gave to Gail, is the leader of the group now.
Certainly would want to get on his her bad side.
She like told Gail that they're not NPCs or sidekicks, and then proceeded to do like 60 damage to the Hydra in a single round.
Yeah, like effectively every 25 damage, you guys took a Hydra's head. So when Gail, when Bob did, like, I think he was at 44 damage for like the whole crew, and then he did like that 38, and I feel like Dalton had done 21 and Terry had done 11. So what was it, 33? So I think he did 50 damage of what was that, like 75, and then I think you did another 36, but it was just one of those things, like adding up to, like, you guys got up to the like 136 mark. I think you were like 10 or so damage short of being potentially able to take off another head. Had I not rolled high enough for the knights to effectively take off one, straight up flubbed it for the wizards. But so much of that was just kind of like rolling like a D20 versus D20. Like all of their turns were kind of like contested checks to be narrative more than necessarily trying to take the time to like roll dice and be like, hey, this is what everybody not you is doing 7 hours later. It's your turn again. So I hope that combat was fun. I felt like it worked pretty good for having an ass load of NPCs.
I thought you ran it well, and obviously, giving them each like a single turn would have definitely, like a full turn would have bogged things down. But I thought you ran it well, and I like the kind of the narrative with the thing like kind of crawling on the walls, and then we know there's something going on up top, and then seeing the paladin just go flying off and falling, and the other paladin trying to climb out of the pit is a cool kind of visual. So.
Oh, when I first rolled to see like how it was gonna go, I rolled a 1 for the Knights of the Pale and like a 17 for the Hydra. So that's why I contacted Jinx with, holy shit, 5 of our brothers have fallen into the pit. It's destroying us. You need to save us. And then when Chris was like, oh yeah, I'm going to take a rest here, I'm like, dude, you're going to fuck everybody over. And you guys are going to be 2 hours even later to this party. And then he's like, oh, no, 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 no. I'm going to contact the inverted pyramid. And I'm like, fuck me, that sending spell is gonna break this game over and over again. So I like rolled again to see how things would go. I rolled a 3 for the Knights of the Pale, a 3 for the inverted pyramid, and a 17 for the Hydra again. And I'm like, holy fucking shit. Or no. That was actually equal. I think I rolled like a 6 for the Hydra. And I was like, holy shit, so they're just gonna be in pitched battle. So like it basically told me like by the time you guys get here, it's just going to be like as if they were constantly give and take, but nobody gaining any ground.
Yeah, I thought you did a good job doing like a large scale combat without making it like overly detailed or like burdensome. So I definitely thought I thought it was cool. I had fun.
It's just weird because it's like if you guys are going to play, it still has to be you guys like as the attention of it without like making it like absolutely boring where it's just like, hey man, you've got 9 high level paladins here and they're not doing shit. But I feel like it kind of like plays into like the idea of, at least while it was like closer to the edge of the pit, I liked being able to basically say like, look, it's flinging people into the pit. they're wasting, attacks to save each other and keep each other healed. But yeah, I feel like for kind of like I was not prepared to throw wizards into that. I had so many like theories on how to make the paladins. I had paladin stat blocks like prepared for NPCs, but even so, I was like so worried. I'm like, this is so many fucking NPCs.
Yeah, but I imagine like the like to your point, like the Knights of the Pale are probably like the seals, right? Like they, leave no one behind. So, they go fling, because someone gets flung into the pit, and they're like, well, they need to.
I can't believe looking closer at their stat blocks, because like Monty Cook, he statted out high priests as they are CR10, and then the holy champion, I think is CR6. I couldn't believe neither of, or CR3 on a holy champion. So it's a pretty like sizable like enemy if you were to like fight these people. But he doesn't give either of them like revivify. I'm like, fuck that. Like, damn well paladins are going into battle with the ability. Because technically, when I say paladins, realistically, it's paladins and clerics. The holy champion is definitely a paladin. They've got like actual smite. The high priest is clearly meant to be a cleric, but like the cleric doesn't have revivify. It probably would have been cool if I had actually thought about Death Ward. Had that person like fall, you like hear their back like break, and then you like see as they like stand up right afterwards. He's like at one hit point, like bleeding from his nose. I don't know. I'm good.
I'm not dead yet. Getting better.